Hello, hello, hello. It is really cool outside tonight. What does the temperature say? 67 degrees. Feels like early fall outside. And it started kind of getting cool early in the evening because I wanted to go for a swim tonight and I did not end up going for a swim. I'm still kind of waking up, you guys. I went to bed when Alex did, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna lay down for a half an hour. That was at 11. It is 3:04 a.m. I kept on waking up like every half an hour, and I was like, just 15 more minutes, just 15 more minutes. I was so relaxed in bed with the dogs and with Alex. And then I woke up and I was like, okay, I'm gonna go vlog, listen to a little bit of my audiobook, and then come back and go to bed. So this will probably not be super long tonight, you guys. But I've been doing long vlogs the last couple days, so that'll be fine. Let's see what I did today. I woke up and I did not get coffee early this morning. I just wasn't like really thirsty for it. So I like filled a big bottle of water. Do I have it in here? No, I took it into the house. I don't know why I just remembered this. I've talked about this on here before, but when I was playing tennis in the summers when I was a kid, we used to take those big, what do you call them? Those water jugs. Do you know what I'm talking about? I don't know what they're called. But we would like fill them with ice and water, and then we would like, you know, you turn them, and then we would drink that whole thing back in the day. And then we would fill them on the water fountain with water. But anyway, we didn't have like the fancy water bottles that we have now. We had these like big jug things. What are those called? I can't even remember. But, oh, raccoon. It was the kind of things that you see like a lot of times, like landscapers or like construction workers carrying. Do you know what I'm talking about? So, we used to drink so much water playing tennis back in the day. So I filled this big jug of water up, and then I went into my office, and then I wrote for like 3 hours, 3 or 4 hours. I wrote for a really long time today. I go back and forth, and so what I do is I like write, edit. So, like tomorrow, I haven't really decided if I'm gonna work on my book or not, but if I do, it'll be an editing day. It depends, like, or I go to my other book and I write. I either go back and forth with the books, or I edit, if that makes sense. So, yeah. So I wrote for like 3 hours, 3 or 4 hours, and then I left, and then I went and got a coffee, and ran some errands. Sprinklers on my windshield. Sprinklers on my windshield. And then I went and did a bunch of errands that I had to do, and I tried to get a hold of Tanya because I was going to stop by the kennel, but she did not answer. I found out later that she was like in a city called Cicero, which is like 20 miles north. And she had been on the lake all day long on the boat. Well, she worked this morning and then she went on the lake. So, Tanya has a boat that she keeps like on the lake. So anyway, and then I came home and I filmed videos. And I was trying to film all of my videos for tomorrow, because I am going to be doing an interview with this YouNow guy named Loki, and at 4 o'clock on Saturday. So I was trying to like get all my videos done so that tomorrow I could just get up and I could like get a cup of coffee and I could, you know, go to the pool for a half an hour and just kind of relax before I do this interview, and then just kind of have a low-key day tomorrow. Low-key, when I'm being interviewed by Loki. But I didn't get everything done. Why, you might ask? I'll tell you why. Because I was watching back my Jaclyn Hill video that I had made for my drama channel, sitting on my front porch, and one of my neighbors walked by. And this is a neighbor that is in charge of all of the landscaping for my neighborhood. And, she's okay. She was very nice today. I actually got to know her a little bit better. I've been really trying to kind of like open up and be friendlier with my neighbors because I think that that's important, you know? And so she came up and I was sitting there and drinking my coffee, and I was like watching this video back on my phone, and she's like, how have you been? I was like, I'm good. And I was like, what's going on? And like, our yard is fine. So I was like, I don't know if I'm in trouble or something, you know? And I was like, did we do something? Was there something wrong with the yard? And she was like, no, not at all. I was just walking down the street checking things, and I saw you sitting up here, so that's why you don't assume the worst about people. And I was like, oh man, I feel bad. I said, I just saw you sitting around. She's like, hey, I understand. Because like the years previous, whenever our walkway wouldn't be done, she was always the one that would come and tell me. And she'd be like, okay, we need to get on this walkway thing, you know? But this year our walkway is done really well. But I did actually talk to her about getting all of the, getting everything taken out that we have up there and getting boxwoods put in instead. Like 3 or 4 on either side. So she's going to have the guy that owns the landscaping company in our neighborhood that does the landscaping call me so that I can get an estimate on that, which I'm sure is super expensive, but at least he'll give me an idea if we want to do that this year or next year or whatever. But anyway, so she was like just standing there talking, and she was telling me about going to Michigan, and they have a condo in Michigan and all this kind of stuff. And then I was like, so did you have a nice 4th? And she was like, I'm like, at this point, we're literally 20 minutes into the conversation, okay? And I'm thinking to myself, I was just out here to watch this video. I was going to go back inside and film all my videos for tomorrow. I'd already filmed one for tomorrow, like my main channel video, my drama channel video, but I hadn't filmed my rest. And she was like, oh, I'm going to sit down and tell you that. I said, did you have a nice 4th? And she's like, yes and no, and I'm going to sit down and tell you the story. I was like, okay. And so she sat down, and like a half an hour later, the story was over. But it was really nice. You know, those are the things that, like, as corny as it sounds, like, that I enjoy. Like, I like that, interacting, you know, with our neighbors and stuff like that. Like, we went to the pool the other day. I think I shared this. Maybe Alex and I both did on July 4th, and we met one of our neighbors, which was really interesting because when I was at my, uncle's funeral yesterday, I think I may have said something about this on here. 2 people that, like, the one neighbor that we're friends with in the neighborhood that my aunt and uncle knew, and this other woman were like, oh my God, you're gonna love her, she's awesome. This woman that we had met at the pool, and they were like, oh my God, she's like so great, you guys are gonna get along so well. I mean, their faces literally lit up, you know? You know, when I was growing up, it's interesting, we knew our neighbors, you know, like, knew them, and it wasn't like anything weird for like our neighbors' parents to like scold us, or do you know what I mean? Like, we knew our neighbors, like knew them, like ate dinner at their houses, and you know, because everybody had kids in our neighborhood, and you know, we all played together, and our parents were all friends, and you know, I don't know, it's like, I don't know what's happening. I think there are still places like that, you know, sometimes in the suburbs, maybe, and whatever, but I think we've really moved away from that a lot. I don't know what it is. You know, I know when I lived in an apartment, I was never close with any of my neighbors. And I lived in an apartment for a very long time. I don't even know that I knew my neighbors. You know, I'd be like, oh, those people moved out. Oh, there's new people that moved in, things like that. But I never really knew my neighbors. But growing up, like, I knew my neighbors. And if you saw the vlog when I, like, drove down the street that I grew up on, that one of my neighbors bought the house across from her parents, and so she stops me in the vlog, and she was like, can I ask you what you're doing? I was like, Tracy, it's Peter Monn. And she was like, oh my God, you know, and but we knew everybody back in the day, you know, like, and it wasn't, like I said, it wasn't anything, like if I had been, you know, walking through somebody's, you know, flower bed or whatever, they would have said to me, Peter, like, please don't walk through, you know, my flower bed, or, you know, like, you know better than to walk through Mrs. Jones's flower bed. And then we always had, like, you know, the one scary person in the neighborhood, and people that never came out of their house, and you always had like the mysteries and stuff. And the street, I think, seemed so much longer than it really was. I lived on a cul-de-sac, so that a dead-end cul-de-sac, and our house was actually on the cul-de-sac. So, you know, our street was 20 houses, I don't know, and it was really like the last half towards the cul-de-sac that all the kids were really close. The first half, they weren't really kind of part of our crew. But, you know, it's interesting when I look at that, it's like, I don't know, like we were all so close back then. It was really nice to grow up that way, you know? And it felt safe. And, you know, I was a walker to school. Well, I was a walker to elementary school, and then I took the bus in junior high and high school. High school, I didn't take the bus. My mom took me like my sophomore year, and then my junior year, my friend picked me up, and then my senior year, I drove. Oh, I was late birthday, so I wasn't 16 until I didn't have 16 in my license until going into, no, 16 going into my senior year? No, my junior and senior year I drove to school. So it must have been my sophomore year that my friends picked me up. Maybe it was the last half of my sophomore year, I don't remember. But, you know, when I was like in elementary school, like I think of this today and I think of how strange this is, you know, with like all the kidnappings and things that have happened in the world. Like, I was a walker and I walked like a mile and a half to school in elementary school. And I remember leaving in the morning to walk to school in the winter. And Indiana winters are brutal. I mean, not as much anymore. They still are at times, but you know, when I was growing up, I mean, December to March, there was always, you know, a foot of snow outside, ice everywhere. And the thing is that starting in the fall, it gets dark really early here, you know. So when I left to be at school at 7 o'clock, it was pitch black outside. I mean, you couldn't even see, it was so dark. And I remember going into kindergarten, or going into first grade. My mom must have taken me to kindergarten. Going into first grade, my parents were separated at that point, and my dad the other day, okay, so when we went to brunch, this is off subject, but like we were talking and I said something about when you guys got divorced, I was 6, and when you got separated, I was 6, and then you were 8 when I got divorced. He goes, no, it was 8 and 10. I go, what? He goes, it was 8 and 10. And I said, are you sure about that? And he was like, yeah, of course I am. And I was like, that seems like I would have been 4th or 5th grade, Dad, when you guys got divorced. And he was like, yeah, it was 8 and 10. So I guess I didn't remember that. I guess I was 8 years old when my parents got separated, but that still seems, I don't know. I guess I was. He knew. Because he corrected me, like, real quick. When I said 6, he goes, 8. And I said, what? And he goes, you were 8 when we got separated. And he said, maybe 7.5 is what he said. So anyway, but he came over and, well, see, that wouldn't make sense then for first grade. He's wrong. Because I wouldn't have been 8 going into first grade. Would I have? I was late. So I was like, okay, I didn't turn 18 until after we graduated from high school. So what would I have been going into first grade? I don't even know. So anyway, my dad came over and we did like we did it twice. And we walked from my house to the school so that I could find my way in the dark, but also so we could see like how long it would take for me to walk the route. And because he wanted to make sure that I knew. But can you just imagine that? I mean, like, I don't remember, honestly, like there being a lot of other kids walking. I remember getting in my big coat and my hat and my mittens and scarf and everything. I do remember that. And walking down, you know, and we would wear long underwear and we would have snow pants on and the whole thing, going to school because it was miserable. You'd get to school and you'd take all that stuff off. And I remember doing all that. And I don't know why my mom didn't just drive me up the street. I mean, as I got older, my mom slept in later, but when I was young, she always was up and I was eating breakfast. I mean, honestly, it would have taken her 2 minutes to drive me up the street. I mean, seriously, I look back on that now, I'm kind of like, well, why didn't you just drive me to school? I don't know, maybe they thought it was good for me or something. Or maybe that's just what everybody did. I do remember that, like, we all walked. Like, I don't remember people's parents taking us to school or picking us up when I was in elementary school. But, in junior high, we all took the bus, because the bus stop was at the corner of the street. But I can remember my mom, like, making cinnamon toast or, like, a bagel, and as I walked out the door, she would hand that to me in, like, paper towels to hold on to, and I would eat it on the way. And, but it was more sprinklers. But being so cold and so dark outside, so dark. And I remember I was, like, scared, but not really scared. But I was always more scared, like, once I left my street, you know? Because I didn't, like, know what was out there. Whereas, like, on my street, I always felt super safe. Which, in retrospect, is so strange that parents allowed their kids to do that. When you think about kidnappings and things like that, right? I mean, I walked a mile and a half in the pitch dark. I mean, I could have been taken anywhere. There were so many places that I could have been taken that were dark, that had huge trees. I mean, nobody was watching for me. Nobody, you know? And I wasn't the only one. I mean, we all walked. Like, that's what I do remember, is that we all walked. So, I do remember, like, I don't know why I remember this in the spring and the warm weather, but not so much like in the cold weather. But I do remember, like, meeting up with people along the way when we would start walking as groups together. Like, you know, I was, like, one of the farthest people out. And then, like, as I walked in, like, I would meet people at school, like at street intersections. And then we would walk together. But strange, isn't it? That rattling that you hear is the strap holder on my camera, that when I got my old camera, I, like, clipped them off right away, and I still haven't done it. And I was listening to the vlog back, and I noticed that, and I was like, I've got to clip those off. But I also think that that's the whole mentality of the world changing, you know? We used to talk to our neighbors, and we don't anymore, and people used to leave their, you know, doors unlocked. It still amazes me when we go to places like friends of ours, and it's especially people that live, like, out in the country, and they're like, oh, we don't lock our doors. I'm like, you don't lock your doors? And they're like, no, we don't lock our doors. Why, do you guys lock your doors? I'm like, we lock our doors every time we leave the house. Are you kidding me? Throw the alarm system on and everything. Yes. You don't not do that. I mean, my God. But that wasn't the case when we were growing up, you know? Doors were left unlocked. My mom would leave the door unlocked for the whole day. She left, you know, we were playing outside, and it's so funny how you forget things, isn't it? Like, pieces of your, I mean, it's not like just like when you were a kid. Like, that's a piece of your life, you know? Walking to school and all that, get up and getting ready. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking about, you know, like, your hair's a mess from the hat that you've worn the whole morning to school. And then you've got on long underwear, a flannel shirt over it, you know, jeans with long underwear underneath it, snow pants, those moon boots. Do you remember those moon boots? And just, you're so sweaty and hot by the time you get to school, and it's just, and, like, it's so cold outside. And then I don't remember having to put that shit back on at the end of the day. It was probably a little bit warmer. I do remember one of the things that we loved was when, because, you know, in Indiana, since, like, in the winters are pretty cold, we get, like, a lot of snow days. And snow days are where it snows a lot. I'm not trying to be condescending. A lot of people will be like, oh, I've never heard of this. What's that, you know? So we get snow days, and snow days are like where if it snows so much, you know, that the buses can't travel or something like that happens. A lot of times in Indiana, what it is that, like, the pipes freeze and stuff in the school. So, or the heat doesn't work, and so we can't have school for that day. But we used to get, a lot of snow days when I was growing up. And, we loved nothing more than when we would be at school and it would start like snowing like 8 o'clock in the morning, right? And it was snowing so hard that by like noon they would cut school and they would say that we were gonna have like an extra, like a snow day. And then, do you remember you would stay up really late at night and you would watch the news because like the credits would roll underneath there and it would say like, I went to Carmel Clay Schools. So you would wait for the C's and it would like say, Carmel Clay Schools, 2-hour delay. And you'd be like, damn it! Because you wanted it to say Carmel Clay Schools closed, you know? And then when you knew that you got a snow day, you were so excited. Oh my God, we loved it so much that we got snow days. That was fun back in the day. My mom would make tomato soup and grilled cheese sandwiches, and we'd play outside for hours in the snow. And if it was too cold, we would play in my basement, and we would roller skate in my basement. I had this huge basement, and it was cement. It wasn't finished, so you could roller skate around there. We would go to somebody's house and play games, and you know, we never like. I grew up in a different generation. I mean, we all had video games. We all had the Ataris and the Nintendos. But I don't remember, like, I remember for sleepovers and stuff like that, if there was a bunch of us, that we would maybe, like, play Nintendo or Atari for, like, an hour. But I don't remember it being like this. There was nowhere near this obsession that we have today with video games. And maybe that was just because they weren't as advanced. I don't know. Like, I do remember, like, with Nintendo, like, hanging out with, like, you know, if I would have a sleepover with a couple friends or whatever, we would play, like, Pitfall and, you know, like, Mario Brothers. We would do that, because my mom later in life commented, she's like, I can remember that sound of that Mario Brothers, like, playing in the other room, and it always felt so homey to me, is what she would say. But, like, if my friends weren't there, I never played video games. I'm not a video game person. I never have been. I know people love them, and I get that they love it, but I don't get it for me, if that makes sense. My husband goes through phases with it where he is obsessed with them. But, like, I never understood that with the video game. Like, I mean, I understand it, but it never was my thing. You know, other people would be like, how can you just sit there and read a book for 5 hours? I'm like, how can you sit there and stare at a television screen with nothing going on for 5 hours? I liked it, but I was never the person that would just play video games by myself. I never was, you know? Alex literally, I mean, there have been periods of our relationship where he could just, like, oh, that Mario Kart, he played that thing, I'm telling you, for 2 weeks straight until he had beat every level. And he was like, he'd come home from work and he'd just be right in front of that TV. I'm like, what are you doing? I'm like, do you want to watch TV? He's like, no, I want to play Mario Kart. I'd be like, okay. And then when he was done, he was done. Like, he didn't want to go get another game. He was just, like, done with it. Every once in a while, I'm like, you never play video games anymore. He's like, yeah. If his brother is home from California, like, sometimes, like, he and Fufu will play video games. I don't know that Carlos really does, but it was a different generation, you know? We just didn't stay inside a lot. We were outside playing, coming up with games, imagination, you know, we would run wild. We were spies, or, you know, coming up with different, you know, building forts or building towns, or, you know, like we used to do haunted houses, like I've talked about. I mean, we were always doing something, you know? I miss those days sometimes. I mean, I don't know that I really want to be a kid again, but I'll tell you what I miss is that you didn't have anything really to worry about when you were that young, you know? But I don't know that you really knew that you didn't have anything to worry about. My childhood was very similar to, I think one of the reasons why I loved To Kill a Mockingbird so much was that my childhood was very similar to that. And, you know, although I was, like, had a couple, like, other kids that I was friends with, like, I was really around the adults a lot, you know? And I think it was being an only child, being from divorced parents, you know, like, I can remember, lots of times, like my mom and her friends, like she had so many friends that would come and visit in the summer. And, you know, I would fall asleep just like on the living room floor with a pillow, just like listening to them talk about things that I had no business listening to probably. I mean, nothing, you know, horrible. It's not like they used bad language and all that kind of stuff, but it was just like, you know, they would sit there and have drinks and talk about stuff. And, oh my God, Judy Smith, can you believe this? And well, whatever. I just ate it up. I loved it, you know? And with my dad, I mean, my dad and I just always kind of hung out together. And, you know, I said this in a video that I did, I think today, that both of my parents were really good about, like, not bringing people that they were dating around until, like, several years had gone by. And, you know, what's interesting about the whole thing about the 8 and 10, if that's true, is that my stepmom and my dad got married when my stepmom, when I was 12 and a half, almost 13. Well, they dated for like a year, and she's the first girlfriend. My dad dated somebody before that, but I didn't know they were dating. And she was like a surgery tech or a nurse. I didn't know that they were dating. I just knew that they were like very close. And, so my dad and my stepmom dated for like a year and a half before they got married. If there was nobody else before, and my mom never brought anybody. She was really adamant about not bringing people around me when I was growing up and not giving mixed messages to me, you know. But both my mom and my dad were very strict about not bringing boyfriends or girlfriends around that were going to be there for 3 months and then we're going to be out of life. You know, like, if by the time I met them, they had dated for a while. And the reality was my mom just really never dated anybody that long that I'm aware of that she brought around, you know? Because I never met, like, a couple. She would call them special friends, or she would tell me later, like, yeah, I had gone on some dates with him and he just happened to stop by. But nothing like where we were sitting down having dinner and I was meeting the kid, you know what I mean? Like, nothing like that. And I do remember the first time that I hung out with my stepmom, it was actually, because their wedding anniversary is in the winter, so it's like February, I think, or January. And their first date that the first time I met my stepmom was a Pointer Sisters concert, and I was like 10. I would have been a year and a half before they got married, 2 years before they got married, a year and a half, I think. But anyway, it was on my birthday, so we went to see the Pointer Sisters. Jump for your love, jump in. Anyway, and I remember my stepmom made this like fruit salad thing that I hated, and I don't know why I remember that, I just do. And she tried so hard, and I remember my dad said, he was like, you know, Deb, she's trying so hard, Pete, just be nice to her, you know, she's trying so hard, and, you know, she doesn't know what it's like. And I said, I know, Dad. And my stepmom's been fantastic, she really has. And, you know, later in life, she said to me, I've never tried to be your mother, I've never tried to be your friend, but we can have a special relationship because, you know, we have a relationship that no other two people have, you know. I'm your stepmom, I'm not your mom, I'm not your friend. And, you know, I think it's a really good way to look at step-parenting, that she set boundaries enough that I needed to respect her. You know, it was her home as well, and that was made very clear. But I wasn't her friend. It wasn't like we were going to hang out. And she never tried to be my mom. She never took the role of my mom, not once, which I think is why my mom and my stepmom got along very well and respected each other. But she had no problem doing motherly duties. So if, like, I needed picking up or help with homework or whatever, or she made dinner for us, I mean, she did those things, you know. And I don't know how she figured out how, I mean, she had step-parents herself, so maybe that's how. I don't know how she maneuvered figuring out how to be such a wise step-parent, but she really was a wise step-parent, you know? And I'll never forget her sitting there. We must have gotten into an argument or something, and I was like junior high-ish, going into high school, I think like 9th grade or something, and she looked at me, we were in the car, and she was driving, and I looked over at her, and I said something, and she said, you know, she goes, I've never tried to be your mom. And I've never tried to be your friend. And I really wish that you would understand that we can have this really special relationship, because I'm your stepmom and you're my stepson, and that's something different than other two people can have in the entire world, you know? And I don't want to be your mom and I don't want to be your friend, but I want to be something different, you know? Where, you know, I can be kind of your friend, but kind of, you know, a parent at the same time. And she was that. And I don't know, I just think it's awesome looking back on that. And she got that, you know, and like I don't know, I feel blessed. It's like I had 3 different kinds of parents. I had a mom, and I had a dad, and then I had a stepmom that was completely different kind of parent. So, I don't know. All right, you guys, I'm almost at 30 minutes, so I'm gonna stop this and let the camera cool for a second, and I will be back to tie this up and put a bow on it and end it for the day. I love you guys. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. I'm at the gas station. I was just, I got gas, and I got a bottle of water. It's 64 degrees outside. You think about it, like in the last couple nights, like it's been like, last couple nights it's been like 79, 80 degrees when I've been doing my vlogs. It's crazy, you know? It's kind of nice though. I mean, I'm not ready for cold weather by any means, but it's not like we're gonna have cold weather in the middle of July anyway, you know? It'll come back around. It'll come back around. I'm gonna sleep so well tonight. I've been having really, really weird dreams lately. I'm not sure why, but I have been. And I've been having dreams about people. Like, does this ever happen to you? You have dreams about people that, like, you don't know who they are in real life, if that makes sense. Like, they're not, like, real people in your real life. I don't know how to explain this. Okay, like, in your dream, physically, they don't look like who they are. But you know that you know them in your real life, even though physically in your dream, they don't look like that person. Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean, Jelly Bean? This guy in this car right here was asleep when I walked into the gas station. He was just sitting there like this, asleep. I just got the craving for a cup of coffee so bad. I don't know why, like a hot cup of coffee. Maybe it's because it's cool outside. Maybe it's because I've been watching Twin Peaks. And they've been talking about, that's a really good cup of coffee. It's funny because if you guys are Twin Peaks watchers, so they're directed by David Lynch. And I remember, like, in the Twin Peaks series, like, David Lynch he's always got, like, a cameo role in everything that he does. But I don't remember him being, like, a big part of the series. And in the reboot of it, he's, like, a big part of the series. I feel like I do remember him, though, in the movie Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me. I feel like I do. I'll have to watch it again. I feel like I do remember him being kind of a big part of that. But anyway. I used to watch this series back in the day. I don't know if you guys could even find this series anywhere, but I have the whole, like this box set or DVDs of it or whatever. But it was called Dead Like Me, and it was so well done. And they did like 3 or 4 seasons, and then they canceled it, and then they came out with like a 2-hour movie finishing it. But it was about this girl, and she was like young, like I think she was like 18 or 19, and she had gotten this, like, executive job, like, in this office building that she didn't want to work in. I can't even remember what town it takes place in. I feel like it's, like, Philadelphia or something like that. But in the opening scene, she, like, is standing outside for lunch, and this toilet from this outer, like, this, like, you know, one of, like, the NASA spacecrafts, like, falls to Earth and hits her and kills her. And so she becomes, I think they call them grifters in the dream. Or, I mean, grifters in the... Still stuck in the dreamscape. Grifters in the show. And they're people that come and, like, take the souls before somebody dies. So, like, as the person's dying, they come and, like, walk the soul away. And it was such such a great series. I loved the series so much. And didn't make it. If you want to be sure to watch a show that is not going to make it, just follow all the TV shows that I watch, because they never get renewed, ever. Wentworth got renewed. Wentworth is about to come back. Well, actually, I think the season just ended in Australia, and so it's supposed to come back to, it might already be on Netflix. If I get on Netflix and I look tonight when I get home, I will be like, oh my gosh. But Wentworth I watch, Orange is the New Black I watch. What else do I watch? I watch The Walking Dead. Does anybody watch The Walking Dead anymore? I don't watch The Walking Dead anymore. I'm like so many seasons behind. Jane the Virgin, Alex still watches. I was the one that got him hooked on that. I watched like the first 3 or 4 seasons, and then I stopped watching it. If I get a couple episodes behind on a show, it's like, okay, so many people have asked me if I'm watching Big Brother. I used to be a Big Brother fanatic, you guys, but I just, to be honest with you, I can't keep it up. And I really hate saying this because, like, I love Big Brother. Like, I absolutely, absolutely love Big Brother as a TV show. But I really have so much stuff going on in my life to commit 3 nights a week to a TV show. I just don't have the time to do it. I just don't. And, so I feel bad, but I'm not watching it. Tanya and I used to always watch it in the summer, and this is like the first summer that I'm not watching it with her. I heard it started off really well, and then I asked her the other night, and she was like, it's okay, it's not the greatest. I'm like, I heard it was really, really good, and she's like, I mean, it's okay, it's not. I'm like, well, I'm just telling you what I heard, Tanya Jean, okay? She's so tired from working so much. Her kennel has so many dogs right now from 4th of July. It's weird to think that 4th of July is already over, my birthday's already over, Alex's birthday's already over. It's like, those main things this summer, we're almost halfway through the summer, you know? If your kids are in school, your kids are probably way halfway, you know, done with the summer. I've got so many things I still want to do this summer, you know? The last 2 years, I've really sat outside and read a lot. Today, I did sit outside on our couch in the back today and read a little bit, but I used to sit outside and read a lot back in the day. Or not in the back, but out front. I would sit and I would just read for hours. I haven't done that this summer. I've been working so hard on my own writing that I've just been kind of, I don't know, like I feel very busy this summer. Whereas other summers, and you know what's interesting is, I am busy, but at the same time, I have less going on in my life right now than I usually do. So it's like I really have no excuse to not just go to the pool during the day, you know, 3 days a week or 2 days a week, and, you know, read and all that kind of stuff. I haven't been doing it. I don't know why, but I haven't. I still got a lot of time left. And we're gonna go to Vegas, and we're gonna go to Connecticut, and we've got a fun summer left ahead of us. And you know, I think too, like, as you get older and you're like in a relationship and you're happy and, you know, you got dogs and all that kind of stuff, it's like, as much as you enjoy summer, that's great, but then you don't, like, it's like, you know, you also have like fall to look forward to in winter, because I mean, there's all kinds of things that you have to look forward to together, you know what I mean, and trips to plan and all that kind of stuff. So it's not just, you know, oh, summer, when it's over, let's get really depressed. Like, I used to get so depressed when like seasons would end or holidays would be over. Not depressed, but sad. And I don't get like that anymore, you know? I just really don't. I mean, I do a little bit, like, kind of like, oh, it's over, planned so much for Christmas and now it's over, but not the way that I used to, you know? I just kind of, it's like the quote from Janis Joplin, you know, she says it's all the same fucking day, man. And it kind of is like that. It feels like that as you get older, it's kind of like it just kind of flows and ebbs along, you know? And I think at the same time you like have a better appreciation for life, because it's, when you look at life that way, you know, it's just kind of like ebbing along. It's like, well, oh my God, speaking of ebbing, hold on a second. But, you just really, I don't know, enjoy the smaller things. Like I say a lot, you know? And so, it's not like looking forward to the big things, it's really enjoying the smaller things in life. Speaking of which, so Alex texted me tonight and he was like, let's sit down and like eat dinner together and watch a movie tonight. Wouldn't that be fun? Because he has to work tomorrow morning. And I was like, well, he has to work tomorrow at like 10, I think. And I was like, yeah, that's fine. That'll be fun. As we haven't like sat down and watched, we watch TV shows like Pose and RuPaul's Drag Race, but we haven't watched like a movie in a long time. And so he's like, well, I'm going to download a bunch of movies. And I said, okay. So he came home, he's like, well, what do you have? And I said, what do you have? And he's like, well, I've got this, I've got that. And he's like, I've got 3 billboards outside of Ebbing, Missouri, I think is what it's called. And I said, oh my God, Tanya told me that movie is fantastic. It's got Frances McDormand in it. I love her. I said, I want to see that movie. She won an Oscar for it. He goes, okay. He was telling me that his friend Zach said that it was really good too. So, we watched it. Have you guys seen this? Now, it ends really weird, but I understand the ending, and I actually went and I read some articles about why it ends the way that it ends, and it makes a lot of sense about the ambiguity of morality. But oh God, the camera just stopped right when I was talking about this fantastic movie. All right, I'm back. I don't really remember what I was talking about. I think I was talking about the movie that we watched tonight, which was called 3 Billboards Outside of Ebbing, Montana, or Missouri, which was a great movie. Everybody should watch it. It was fantastic. It was so well done. Frances McDormand was in it. She won an Oscar for it. It was based on a true story. It was tragic, though. But true. Like, I mean, it was like watching it was like crazy. Like, I can't believe this really happened. It was so sad. It was about this mother who was seeking justice for her daughter that was raped and murdered. I love movies that are based on reality, like, even though they're tragic events that occurred, I still, like Boys Don't Cry and Erin Brockovich are 2 of my favorite movies. Which you would think I would like to read more, like nonfiction, but I don't. I don't enjoy it. Well, that's not necessarily true. It kind of depends. One of my favorite books of life is Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil, and I think the movie is fantastic too. And I remember years ago, like Alex wanted to see the movie, and so then he read the book first, because I have the book by, I think it's by John Behrens. And so he read it, and then we watched the movie together, because I had already read it and seen the movie. And he loved it. He thought it was great. It was great. That is a movie and a book that made me want to go to Savannah, Georgia, and visit it. And I still haven't been there. I was talking to somebody the other day about, like, that I've traveled so many places, but I haven't really traveled that many places within the United States. Like, I've never been to Washington, D.C. I've never been to the Carolinas. You know, haven't been to Savannah, Georgia. I haven't been to San Diego, and my brother-in-law lives there. I'd love to go to, like, Montana, Wyoming, see up there. Portland, Oregon, Seattle, I'd love to go to. Maybe someday, you know. You don't really realize, I think, like, what things you want to accomplish in life. Not accomplish. What things you want to do in life until you actually sit and think about, well, what are things in life that I want to do that I haven't done? You know, when the whole bucket list question, when you ask yourself, like, what are things or places that I want to go? What are things I want to do, you know, before I die? You don't really think about it and I don't on a daily basis, unless one comes up in my mind, like, oh, I've never been to Washington, D.C., you know? Or if I'm actually sitting down and writing a bucket list. Maybe that's something that I need to do. I did it a long time ago, but I haven't done it in, I don't know, a couple years, it feels like. I don't know the last time I did it. A couple of years ago, I consciously started writing things down that like I really wanted to do just once in my life. And it was like I had never had blueberry pancakes. I had never had like chocolate chip pancakes. And Melissa took me to the International House of Pancakes. Not IHOP, but it's the other one, like the real one. And we got like 3 different kinds of pancakes. She's like, you're gonna have blueberry pancakes and chocolate chip pancakes. Everybody needs to have them just once in your life. And so I did, and I realized that I prefer waffles. Do you know what's weird is that when I was growing up as a kid, my mom would make pancakes that were like Mickey Mouse pancakes or heart-shaped pancakes, and they were always a little like burnt on the edges, and that's kind of how I like my pancakes. And I don't know if it just reminds me of like being a kid and growing up, but I like my pancakes a little burnt on the edges, like not black, but just a little toasty on the edges. And I mean, that's not how you get them when you go, you know, to a restaurant. They're like perfectly fluffy. I don't ever order pancakes at a restaurant, ever. Very rarely do I. If we go to like brunch or breakfast, I always get like an omelet with hash browns. Very rarely do I ever get pancakes and waffle, but now I've had that. And then I wanted to have Thai food because I had never had Thai food, so Alex and I a couple years ago went to a Thai restaurant. And yeah, all my bucket list things are food. But it was simple things like that I wanted to try in my life, you know? They weren't like huge things. I mean, do I have bucket list things that are huge? I like want to go certain places. Yeah, sure. But you know, it's also like when I was younger, it was like really important for me to like go here, go there. Like those things just aren't as important to me anymore. I find comfort, you know, just in my own surroundings and being at home. And I do have some bucket list things. I talked about this, I think, on here not too long ago, that I want to see like all the Star Wars movies, and I want to read all the Harry Potter books. But those are the kind of things that like I look at when I think about bucket list things that I want to do, you know? Sure, traveling, I enjoy that as well, but so. Well, anyway, you guys, listen, I'm going to get off here and not make this an hour long tonight, because I'm going to go home and go to bed and listen to my audiobook on the way home. And I hope you guys are having a wonderful weekend. I love you, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.